We're seeing a large push in clients and emerging brands that are digital native, and they've tammed out of that space, and they're looking for extended reach or an unduplicated audience. And TV is allowing that at scale. And once we launch with them, it is also becoming a feeder system to their other medias, whether it be digital or influencer campaigns. They come to TCA because we are very hands-on, from execution all the way through, doing daily reporting back to them on all KPIs, and then providing customized reports and customized dashboards that works with their team. We're almost like an extension of their team because we work so closely together.
So it seems like you guys do mostly television, and it's around performance, which seems rather new or unusual. Tell us about TV as a performance medium and why it matters.
Sure. Scale for starters, or scale with television for starters. I mean, we're talking 119 million homes, 240 million viewers. So quite a big impact to a marketer's campaign. What can be different for advertisers that, again, are digitally native is that they're not used to the non-linear consumer path. And so we work with our TV partners such as TVSquared to give them the attribution and the control and the clarity that they're looking for to make them more comfortable, similar to how they are in their digital executions.
So what are their KPIs? I mean, I know it varies, but give us sort of a range.
Sure. Our agency works with everything from cost per app install to cost per visitor, cost per new user, cost per member, all the way down funnel metrics to cost per orders and cost per revenue. We're no longer looking at, it's not the traditional brand metrics where it's spot ran, cost per thousand achieved, or eyeballs achieved. It's now spot ran and cost per install, cost per action, but what action was creative, what was achieved in that level.
And what about the creative itself? How do you measure the performance of creative or different campaigns, and how creative is working?
Creative is huge when it comes to execution. Even if it's a new brand or a brand looking to scale, you have to have multiple creatives. So in all of our tests, we set up where you have no less than 2, ideally 3 or 4 creatives, and we make sure that they're fairly balanced in terms of reach and frequency as well as cost per thousands, so we get good reads. You want to make sure you're testing different creative unit lengths. You want to make sure you're testing different CTAs. You want to make sure you're testing a mix of different formats, spokesperson versus testimonial, testimonial versus problem solution. I've seen the difference in creative performance of up to 35%. And we all know that can make or break a campaign, especially for somebody just entering the marketplace. So it's vital for everybody to launch with multiple creatives.
So walk us through the process a little bit about a client that has a specific agenda. Do you deal with the planning, the buying, and the performance?
Correct.
Walk us through a little bit of sort of that.
Sure.
Funnel.
When we're talking with prospects, we'll usually meet with them a few times, go over some discovery questions, work through all of the information they have from their consumer products, whether it be Google Analytics or any of their Facebook information. We overlay some of the consumer insights that our research team has, look at some of the competitive that's going on in the marketplace, and then we work through that both on the creative and media level. While our team's learning the type of messaging that resonates best through research and through what they've seen them do in the digital channels, our media team's also looking at what is most likely to index or over-index for them and perform. From there, once we move out of planning, we move into execution. We are working every single day, getting pre-logs, and then the day following post-logs, updating those into TVSquared and reporting back on KPIs. We do daily and weekly calls with clients, daily when we launch, weekly once the campaign's fairly calibrated and moving. Again, lots of hand-holding, but it needs to be when you're working with such aggressive metrics like this.
And finally, what advice would you give to brands looking to either try TV for the first time or increase their spend?
When a brand is looking to try TV for the first time, I always tell them and make them wary of anybody that's trying to get them to do a long-term commitment. If you're trying to dip your toe in television to see if it works for your brand or not, we're talking a 4 to 5 week campaign. Again, going back to multiple creatives, it is important for them to launch with 2 to 3 creatives as well within that campaign to make sure that you are seeing your best of possible messaging efforts. A few weeks into a campaign, we're getting reads on creative and media, what's working, what's not. Obviously, dropping what's not within the campaign as fast as possible and funneling more spend to what is. With that, we're also seeing, let's say, 5 top networks that are performing, and our team's going back saying, okay, these 5 networks also have similar audiences on these other 5 networks. It's like a primary lineup versus your secondary. And then we start rolling out to our secondary lineup. With that, we're also watching creative, let's say A, B, and C. And let's say C is not performing, we drop it, increase the rotations on A and B. And then learning about what is making those creatives work, and our creative team's going back and re-editing spots while we're within flight to better perform up at the expected level of the other spots.
Natalie, just to be clear, you guys do most of the creative? Do your clients do some of the creative? How does that work?
90% of the clients that we work with, we do the creative for. And then 10% will inherit creative assets, is usually a phase 1, and then we'll work closely with their team if they have an in-house team in producing future creatives. With clients, we typically, again, when it's go to market, we'll start with 2 or 3 creatives, see what's working, and every other month are going back into production to piggyback more on what is working. Whether it be a specific format, like I said, problem solution, we'll try different, female versus male, 2 females, 2 males, just to see what resonates better. Sometimes it's a blend between certain messages and audiences are responding to, the male versus certain messages and audiences responding to female skewing networks.
And just finally, an overview on the value of TV for brands that had been digital natives. What are the opportunities? What is some of your advice?
It's scale. It really is. When they are talking in some of their digital placements, thousands, we're talking millions. In terms of the volume that we're driving, it's usually 10 times that. When we launch with the client, we'll typically get around a 30% share of their marketing efforts for that month. And we see month over month, they continue to double down and funnel more money towards television.